Good morning, everybody. How are you on this Taco Tuesday? My goodness. Now I'm going to have to mute myself a few times during the show. Woohoo! Shonda's here. Shonda's here. Hey, Diva. Bray, Justice Jane. I see some names I've never seen before or haven't seen in a while. Play the Game said all media needs a deep dive expose. Damn. Yes, I'm battling allergies. So I'll have to mute myself here and there, not the regular mutes where I have to get OJ off the keyboard or, sneak out to pee-pee real quick. I'm going to have to clear my throat. Sneeze, blow my nose, all the nasty stuff. But Shonda's got it too. Woo, it's that ragweed coming through, girlfriend. And as much as I love getting everything ready in the garden and everything like that, my sinuses pay for it. Good morning, Hound Lover. Good morning. Well, before I get to it, I'm going to let you guys marinate. Think about this. For those of you that have seen the Dateline NBC article, well, it gave me chills, to be quite honest, because I would love for Dateline NBC to do a whole show about Sebastian. No drama, zero drama, and hopefully put some things to rest. Play the Game is smoking ragweed. So I noticed most of the people that were reading the article said the story changed again. So I need you guys to help me out with this. We're going to go through it, and you tell me what has changed. I didn't really get that anything has changed. Is there something new in it that stuck out to you guys and not me? I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I would miss the nose on my face. So no harm, no foul. Let's just take a minute and tell all of our friends happy Taco Tuesday, and so happy you are here. Glad you're here. Very glad you're here. All right. Family of Tennessee teen Sebastian Rogers still without answers more than a year after his disappearance. Now, that picture right there just makes me so sad because little Sebastian, well, I mean, no, he's not little. He's, almost a grown man. He's a big boy. But his smile just lights up, Nobody would ever say that about me. Her smile just lights up the room. Anyway, the 15-year-old who is on the autism spectrum was not in his bedroom on the morning of February 26, 2024, and has not been seen since. All right, so we already knew that. We knew that part. Katie Proudfoot recalls the evening of Sunday, February 25th, 2024, as a typical one at home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Her 15-year-old son, Sebastian, got ready for bed around 9 and said, "I love you" to his mom and the two dogs, and then he headed to his bedroom for the night. Okay, I don't see anything different there. Now, I will say this, because I've seen it in other cases where people go, "Oh, well, they didn't say that before." This is obviously a phone interview, so something could have got lost in translation as well, okay? Just trying to keep it fair. Katie remembers hearing a noise come from Sebastian's room around 10. Now, I think the 10 o'clock has changed a couple of times. Again, that could be journalistic error. I don't know. I hollered out to him, and he answered me. Katie said, "I didn't think a whole lot of it." About an hour later, Katie went to bed. She had no idea her life would be very different in the morning. Now, one thing that I noticed about the article is they don't mention the 3-hour phone call. So either the journalist just didn't find it important to put in there or it wasn't mentioned. I don't know. And that was the phone call between Katie and Chris Proudfoot. Play the Game wants to know, is Sebastian special needs autistic or special gifted high functioning? They have always alluded to he's very high functioning, very good with numbers, very, very, very good memory, very good chess player. That's everything I have read. I am not the expert on autism. There's other channels that talk about it at great length. Okay, so Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. It was about 6 a.m. She said, when I went to wake him up for school, she said, I went in his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. Normally, he will turn and look, and he didn't. And I realized he wasn't in his bed, Katie said. The following moments are every parent's worst nightmare. She said, I looked everywhere in and around the house and I couldn't find him, Katie said. I checked his bathroom and he wasn't in there. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he went in the kitchen. Maybe he got it before me. So she said, so she went through the house. And when she didn't see him is when she started to panic a little bit. She said she ran through like literally every area of the house. She said everywhere. And that's when I really started to panic. Katie says she jumped in her car and began driving around the neighborhood. Katie also called her husband, Chris, Sebastian's stepfather, who was out of town on a business trip at the time. Now, this is funky wording because he wasn't so much on a business trip. He actually has a job out of town. He has a job site. He was in Memphis on a job site. Anyway, I know some people had an issue with that. She said, it's like terror, Katie told Dateline. What happened? Where did he go? I was in my car and I stopped and I asked one of the ladies that was walking her dog, and she was like, no, I haven't seen him. And then it really started to kick in at that point, Katie said. Katie says she then headed to Sebastian's school and got on a 3-way call with Chris and the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. By the time she got there, she was told to turn around and head home because law enforcement was headed to their home. This is normal. I know some people say it's not. We have seen this in so many other cases where parents are out looking for their children and law enforcement says, go home because we're on the way over and your child might come back home. So she was told to go back home. She said it was just like more and more people were coming and everyone was looking, and every time someone came back and they didn't have him, so she kind of drifts off there because she couldn't finish the thought. Obviously, it's an upsetting thought. Sebastian is on the autism spectrum. You wouldn't recognize him as special needs person just by looking at him, Katie said. He is smart, capable, and functional, but he does have areas that he struggles with. Very early on, it was said he doesn't run off, doesn't really hide. I believe that was either with the Olivia interview or the Nancy Grace. I don't know. Both of them were big bombs to me. But in the 911 call, the deputy says the mom said he hides often, and that a neighbor said he was caught hiding under a car one time. Katie told Dateline that Sebastian does respond differently in certain situations. He does have the sensory issue with loud noises, specifically like spontaneous ones. So he does avoid sudden loud noises, she said. He also hates bugs and would avoid anywhere when he saw one, according to his mom. What he does love is water. He swims like a fish, she says. My understanding is they have checked all the water around there. That's just what I've read. The search efforts for Sebastian were immediate and intense. It was a very large-scale response, Sheriff Eric Craddock of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office told Dateline. Craddock directed Dateline to the TBI newsroom for more information. He said that morning the Sumner County Sheriff's Office issued a missing persons report to begin efforts to locate Sebastian. A TBI endangered child alert was pushed out and was then elevated to a statewide Amber Alert. Due to Sebastian's level water, Pools in the neighborhood were searched, dive teams were brought in, and bodies of water around the neighborhood and beyond that area were searched, including the caves. All right, so they were searching. In his email to Dateline, the sheriff elaborated on what resources were used in the search for Sebastian. He said everything: foot, canine, drone, air assets, meaning fixed wing and helicopter, horse, mounted patrol, USAR resources from across the state and federal government assisted with the case. The search during the week he went missing was extremely large scale. Now, this next part really breaks my heart because I remember reading about this and it just gave me cold chills. Hey, Pink Rose, how are you, girlfriend? It said the sheriff's office even employed some unconventional search methods in its attempt to locate Sebastian. Notably, they encouraged those participating in the search to play Sebastian's favorite music in an attempt to draw him out. This advice was called in by a citizen. I tried and will continue to try anything to bring a resolution to this case. So they were blaring his favorite song, hoping he would respond to that. Whew, that is quite a search grid. Goodness, look at that. Look at that. Despite the intense search efforts, no clues were turned up that led authorities to Sebastian's whereabouts. According to the sheriff, the Amber Alert for Sebastian is still active. Katie believes that wherever Sebastian went, he had every intention of coming back home. He was excited to start taking agriculture classes at school. They actually have animals in the school that the kids will work with as they advance through the classes, Katie said. And that was what he really wanted. He wanted to get in there and start working with the animals. It breaks my heart. Sheriff Craddock wants to assure the public that the investigation into Sebastian's disappearance is active and ongoing. He says, our team is committed to following every lead, analyzing every piece of evidence, and uncovering the truth about what happened to Sebastian. He wrote in a statement to Dateline, we understand the community's deep concern and desire for answers, and we share that concern. He says, however, I urge everyone to rely on verified information from law enforcement rather than the online speculation, which I think we can all agree can be quite a mess. Okay? It can be quite a mess. I lost my spot. Hold on. Glasses would help. Okay, the sheriff would not comment on whether authorities suspect foul play or if they have any persons of interest. Again, they say our priority is finding Sebastian and bringing resolution to his family and this community. If you have credible information, we ask that you come forward and report it to the appropriate authorities, and together we will seek justice and the truth. Yes, he was 15 when he disappeared. At the time of his disappearance, Sebastian was 5'5" and 120 pounds. He would be 16 years old today. Brown eyes, blondish brown hair, and was last known to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black frame glasses. The Proudfoots believe Sebastian may not have been wearing shoes when he disappeared because every pair of shoes in this house has been accounted for, Chris told Dateline. All the shoes that I can think of that we have in the house. Now, you wouldn't want to ask me that question, but I don't exactly have a military discipline or a military mind. I don't know how many damn shoes are in our house. Okay? No idea. Katie and Chris want to make the public aware of some of Sebastian's identifying features and tendencies. He has large freckles on the back of his neck and walks on his toes. He also has a unique run. He puts his arms slightly behind his back and leans forward when he runs. They urge anyone who thinks they see Sebastian to not approach him, but instead take pictures and call 911. Let law enforcement handle it if someone spots him, but please stay vigilant. And again, the TBI newsroom, they have their facts on there, 800 TBI find. So what is different about this Dateline article that we haven't already heard before? And I've read it several times. Good morning, Fire and Ice. I didn't know about him getting into like the Future Farmers of America thing, which is great, that he was going to be working with the animals. But again, they won't say anything about if this is foul play or not. So let's go back to this. What's it going to take for them to decide, is this foul play or not? Because everything versed in this interview, in this article, is that he walked away on his own free will. Got curious, went for a walk type of thing. Play of the Game said, how do they know what he was wearing? Did he sleep in his clothes from the day before? Mom says she didn't see him in the morning. I guess just the last thing she saw him in before he hit the hay.
They will not rule out foul play, but they will not say that there is a criminal investigation into the Sebastian Rogers case. Why not? Well, I talked to District Attorney Ray Whitley about what it might take to perhaps make an arrest. Sebastian disappeared from his Hendersonville home more than 6 weeks ago. Since then, professionals and volunteers searching for the 15-year-old have found nothing, no trace. Have you found evidence of Sebastian yourself when you've been out there?
No.
So how does a teen with
no evidence of him being out there? Now, I thought I read in an article that the dogs hit on the construction site, which makes sense because when they search that landfill picks up the trash. I mean, the trash from the construction site goes to that landfill. But he's saying no. The DA is saying no.
autism, walking from a home barefoot in the middle of the night just with a flashlight, disappear? Experts say children rarely simply vanish completely on their own. Could others be involved in Sebastian's case?
We have not cleared anyone, but we have absolutely no evidence to support foul play.
Though they certainly do have theories. So what would it take to call this now a criminal investigation? General Whitley tells me there has to be something, physical evidence, blood, Sebastian's clothing, a flashlight, or security video, or an eyewitness implicating someone. But at this point, the simple fact is there's nothing. But that's not to say that can't change. And General Whitley.
And that's odd about the eyewitness, unless they just mean eyewitness from the evening going into the morning or the morning he disappeared. Because people that know the Proudfeets have spoken out.
Whitley says he stays in contact with authorities, ready to prosecute if it does. Sumner County EMA Director Ken Widener says his crews are on call 24/7, ready to go when investigators contact them with new leads on potential evidence.
And anytime the sheriff's office indicates or TBI indicates where you've got an area of interest that we need to search, we're ready to go.
You can see the sophisticated mapping system showing the ground they've covered. Sadly, to date, no confirmed sightings and no indication whatsoever of what happened to Sebastian. Authorities still assume that Sebastian is alive and that he will be found safe. If that's not the case, then his body must be found. Without it or any other physical evidence, we may never know what happened to the teen. Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
And that in itself is so sad, without any physical evidence. And the DA is so clear about it. Clothing, eyewitness, blood. They've got to have something to point them in that direction. And they don't have anything. Now, I know some people say, oh, they've got plenty and they're covering it up. I don't see why they would. I just don't. Now, don't get me wrong. It happens. We're talking about Alana Radfield tomorrow again. And we know in that case, there was something going on at that police department. And because of the misdeeds they had going on, they decided not to let the FBI or OSBI know about Alana's death. They decided to take care of it themselves, and they covered it up real quick. But you see, Sumner County has reached out to Secret Service, FBI, and TBI. And I'm just one of those, maybe it's just wishful thinking. hopeful, I guess is the word, because I was going through a lot of different, just doing some, deep dives, just some simple Google searches. And you can just put missing autistic teen, and you're going to come across a lot of articles. A lot. Found, still missing, found, still missing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. One thing that really got me going through all those articles is that they're all boys. Now, again, that was just my simple Google search. Do your research, do your due diligence. Good morning, Karma. But stories like this give me hope that Sebastian could pop back up.
Had gone missing for almost 3 years, but his mother never lost hope. And now that hope has turned to joy as Connor Jack Oswald was found nearly 700 miles away from his home. Jim Murray spoke with the teenager's parents who spent this past weekend celebrating what many understandably would consider an Easter miracle.
Morning.
Deputies are about to make an astonishing discovery. This down on his luck young man is freezing.
You want to come sit in his car and warm up for a minute?
The police found him outside a gas station on a frigid night near the swanky resort town of Park City, Utah. As he gets into the sheriff's car to escape the cold, the deputies try to find out more about him. They took his fingerprints in the car and then did some more digging and realized something extraordinary. He seemed to be a match for a teenager who'd been reported missing nearly 3 years ago. Could the teen seen shivering outside the gas station be this young man, Connor Jack Oswald, who vanished from his home in Clear Lake, California in 2019 when he was 16? He'd been diagnosed with autism. The sheriff's office contacted the missing teen's family, and his stepfather drove to Utah. That's him in the green shirt.
Is that not crazy? Unnamed said, when will we see the Dateline episode? There's no episode. They just did an interview with Katie. I hope they do an episode. I hope they go to Hendersonville. I hope they go through the house. I hope they show the construction site. I hope they talk to neighbors. I hope they go through everything. I really do, because they have really good investigative journalists that could possibly shed new light and help the authorities.
With autism, the sheriff's office contacted the missing teen's family, and his stepfather drove to Utah. That's him in the green shirt. The boy's mother is listening over the phone.
Is it him?
A little bit older, but yeah.
Mom is filled with joy.
My sweetheart's wife.
Her tears flow.
Oh my God. He's my baby,
I spoke to Sue and Jerry Flint today. Did you ever give up hope that you would find him?
No.
Yeah.
I never stopped looking.
Every day.
You don't know how many times I've dreamed of that call or just opening the door and he was there.
Not much is known about where Connor Jack has been these last 3 years. We do know he made his way from California to Nevada before finally ending up in Park City, 700 miles away from home. Summit County Sheriff Justin Martinez says everyone was moved by the homecoming.
Everybody in that room was a parent. And how could you not be that emotional?
What the sheriffs did is incredible. It was like winning $1 billion.
The family have been hoping to have Connor Jack home before his birthday next month, and they have gotten their wish.
That is so sweet. So sweet. And yeah, the FBI was involved in that case too. They definitely had to get involved because he was in damn Utah and they're from California. Never give up hope. And exactly, Victoria. This case is really a mess. It is a mess. And I kind of stay out of the messy mess part of it. So when we speak about Sebastian, just try to stick with the facts. Okay? That's what I do. Gemini, what are you talking about? Gemini, Sebastian doesn't have any siblings. I mean, he has like a stepsister or something, but he doesn't have any siblings. All right. I don't know what Jennifer Coffindaffer is talking about. She is comparing Summer's case to Sebastian's. They are very, 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 very different. For one, Sebastian, 15 years old. His mother says he is on the spectrum. Police say there is absolutely no evidence pointing to foul play, but then you have Summer, 5 years old, a total mess of an upbringing that she has had. And police say they can't rule out foul play. They cannot rule out foul play. Right, Mama Bear? Mama Bear knows that case. But good old coffee grabber. You know what kills me about her? And I've noticed when people come around new to true crime in these cases. Now, the usual people that we see that follow true crime, they already know about Jennifer Coffindaffer, okay? They know she worked for the FBI. They know she worked for the Agriculture Department. She's like one of those people, you know, those bitches that go and get a job at the hospital and suddenly they think they're a damn surgeon. You know what I mean? And you just want to go, hold on, Karen, you work in billing. You're not a goddamn doctor. Okay, so just because Coffee Grabber worked for the FBI does not mean she has ever solved a missing persons case. You know the bitches that they do filing at the law office and they call themselves a damn lawyer? That's kind of how I look at Coffee Grabber. But she's trying to put these two cases together. It don't hold no water in my bucket. So I sped it up a little bit. You can catch it over on her channel. I will say she does do better on her own channel than she does on News Nation. Because on News Nation, she just looks like a damn circus seal. She just shakes her head. I'm waiting for Brian Nitton to throw a ring and see if she catches it on her nose. That's right, Brian. That's right, Brian. That's right, Brian. Well, Brian, I think they're looking for more evidence. Well, Brian, I think they're just waiting to get into the digitals. Well, Brian, in a case like this, you know that the physical evidence is going to tell the story. That's what she always says. She's a little more fluid on her channel. Here we go.
And I told Marnie Hughes, I think it was Marnie that interviewed me. I said, if it gets solved, it will be because one of those boys talks and says what happened. That hasn't happened, apparently. And if it has, law enforcement seemingly isn't able to corroborate anything.
See, right there, she knows better than that. They are not going to speak about what Summer's older brothers have said. So I'm just going to catch the tail end of her saying Summer's case is a cold case. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because I don't want anyone to feel like they've gotten away with anything. Look at that, Mama Bear. Yep, did you get sick too when you heard that? If it gets solved. Shaking my damn head. Exactly. Goodness.
When Don Wells was arrested for a DUI, basically, it was, I think they put him in jail for about 8 months, something like that. I thought that might be a huge break in the case because they would be separated. Candace no longer would have Don, and that one would turn on the other. It didn't happen.
We all knew it wasn't going to happen. Okay? We all knew it wasn't going to happen. You know why? Because he's Teflon Don. He's Teflon Don. And we know what Candace was doing when he was in the pokey. She was out partying. Now, I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come up, talk about Sebastian's case. I really do not want to do a comparison between Sebastian and Summer. Because 2 children are missing in Tennessee does not mean there's some underground damn railroad with a bunch of kids in it. Trust me, I've already blocked those people that bring that shit up.
There were a lot of other crazy things that happened. I want to show you, if I can get this to come up, this particular video, and you all can make out of it what you will. I'll never forget the first time I saw it. I do want to sidetrack and thank Panda Bear's mom.
Wimbles said, is there a vid on playlist regarding the Wells boys? Yeah, I've done quite a few shows on the boys. Yeah. I could help Coffee Grabber with this because we have other names for Don. We don't call him Mr. Wells over here.
For becoming a member. It means so much when you guys join. I think it's all of $1 a month, but I do really appreciate it. Jax Wolf, thank you so much. Oh, trigger warning. Good idea. This isn't that bad. This was something to me that I just found more alarming than a trigger warning needed. Were you guys able to see that video that I showed? No. Okay, I apologize. Basically, this was a video.
Okay, we have a friend backstage. His name is Truckin' for Autism. He's been heavily following Sebastian's case. Not the he said, she said, drama, all that stuff. I will give you just a little bit of drama. Little bit of drama in Sebastian's case. For one, we know Seth has got a whole PR team around him. He got Tony. He got Dog, who's doing nothing. He's got At Night. He's got that one dude. But Dateline did not request an interview with him. I bet that pissed them off. I bet that pissed somebody off. When the 1 year came up of Sebastian's disappearance, they did not interview Seth, which they shouldn't, because Sebastian was at home with his madre, with his mama. Let's take a minute and let's welcome our friend Truckin' for Autism. What up, Truckin'? Long time no see.
Not much, Brooks. How you been?
I'll tell you what, round and round, round and round. What do you make of Sebastian's case? I'm going to pick your brain, my friend.
Boy, from the learning curves that I have worked with autism and all that, my findings were that he is not really high functioning. And from the facts that I have learned, he is capable of doing a lot of good stuff. He is very smart and very talented. And after I looked at the little school event, and he did say out loud, all I wanted to do was help. And that right there tells me that he is knowledgeable and he is capable of doing a lot of stuff on his own.
Well, according to his mom, his stepdad, his daddy, his grandma, they all say he's extremely talented.
Yes.
Miss Kay said, don't you think she has really big hands? Yeah, she's like the hand model for Seinfeld. You know, man hands. Look at those camel knuckles. Okay, go ahead, Truckin' for Autism. So what do you think happened to Sebastian? Do you think this is foul play?
From my investigation of working with many of autism in that and how the parents are presenting themselves, I am 50-50 on foul play in this of how it's been presented. And I'm not quite got all the facts yet, but my investigation is foul play.
Amazing. Now, where is your investigation taking you as far as foul play? Are we looking at water, a vehicle, something happened at the construction site, came across a stranger? What are you thinking?
Possibly major of 60-40 of a vehicle. All the other ones are on the table, but the fact findings are nowhere close. That he knows how to swim well, that's off the table, but it's still on the table. But other than that, it had to be in the car.
Now, do you think, I know there's a lot of theories out there that he never made it home from the Texas Roadhouse. What do you think about that?
Right now, it's an open theory. it is very possible that somebody did pick him up in between there and took him and hit him somewhere.
Yeah. Now, what did you think about the video I showed a minute ago about the boy that was missing for 3 years? And FBI chips, they call it, in California, and their local law enforcement said no foul play, no physical evidence that anything happened to that boy. And they found him 700 miles away in Utah. Do you think something like that could happen with Sebastian?
Yes, very possible. On that case right there, ladies and gentlemen, all he wanted to do was just roam around, and he just got picked up, and people helped him. Maybe some things that he wanted to do is just go and clear his mind and just wander off and see the countryside. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and some teens do that.
Mm-hmm.
But where autistic is, I mean,
and he's autistic. The kid that we showed in that video, he's autistic.
Yeah,
I put several in the Facebook group over the weekend because I was going through these different articles, and I could not believe how many missing autistic teens that there are. And what really struck me is they're all boys.
Yeah, majority of them are boys. But I am glad they did find him at a gas station. He popped up and he was cold, and I'm glad he did.
And he wasn't found in his original clothes. He wasn't found in what he left with.
No, he could have had somebody to help him get clothes or buy clothes or whatever along the way, and it does happen.
Okay. All right, let's get to see what Coffee Grabber has to say. Now, I have my own reasons for not really digging this chick, because you know that I'm very passionate about the case of little Michael Vaughn in Idaho. That case has almost broken me. Coffee Grabber and her Twitter weasels were attacking that family left and right.
Oh, no, a lot of people are.
And so I really don't put a lot of salt into what she says. But some people do, and that's what we're here for. Right?
Right.
Appreciate y'all becoming members. As I said, it really means a lot. So what makes any of us think the possibility that this could be cold? I want to tell you why. At least what we need to look at. First of all, the FBI coming in and saying, giving a $50,000 reward. Whenever you have that happen, whenever we had cases and they were going cold, you wanted to get reward money because you hoped that anybody who might know anything about your case, you hoped that they would be able to see this carrot, this $50,000 carrot in this case, and come forward and say, even anonymously, you know, you can pay out sometimes anonymously.
For somebody that used to work for the FBI in the agriculture department, so she found a lot of missing cows, okay? She did. She really worked a lot of missing farmers, you know, horses and shit like that. So she can find animals. Anyhow, she also should know that very rarely does the FBI pay out. But I have a question here. Could there be an underground group assisting older children with autism? Maybe leave a bad home situation? It makes you wonder, considering that boy, I'm not saying the boy in California that popped up in Utah had a bad home situation, but it makes you kind of wonder, what do you think about that? Trucking for Autism?
There are private groups that do help special needs people if they were struggling and the parents don't have enough money and all that. And there is special groups out there that do get private funding, and they do help special need people like this out.
Yeah, I'm really not talking about like United Way or anything like that, but something like, I don't know, Real Rock and Robin, let me read the question again. Could there be a underground group assisting older children with autism, maybe leaving a bad home situation? Because we've often pondered, was he online? Now, when the parents say, no, 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 we were so strict about that. Every time I was strict about something, my kids would say, hold my beer, and they would figure out a way to get it done. Do you think in your investigation, Trucking with Autism, that any way, shape, or form that he could have met someone online and snuck out?
From my determination between Seth, how he presented himself and what he told, to what Chris and Katie, Sebastian wasn't looking for anything to chat with or to find friends. And the thing of it was that he was trying to find friends locally at the high school. He was not really interested in chatting. All he was interested in was games. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Easter Bunny said no one focuses on rumors of Mama Bowersox being parked nearby that night and the Alaska road trip through Canada a few days after he disappeared. We were told it was checked into and no more. That's all we know. And it always pisses me off when these people go on damn trips when you have a missing person in your family. Now, I'm not talking about your third cousin 3 times removed, somebody that you don't even know, but a grandson. So, I mean, I guess that could be a similarity in Summer's case, because we know Grandass got the hell out of Dodge when Summer went missing.
After 2 days went missing, yeah, she took off back into Wisconsin.
She, a month, 2 days after the boys were taken. So, yeah, that is definitely odd. I know they kept saying, well, we already had it planned. We already had it planned. Plans were meant to be broken. I can tell you that for a fact, because I can't tell you how many times my husband and I are asked to go to weddings, birthday parties, retirement parties. I can't even tell you. It's nothing for me to say, yeah, we'll be there, and then we don't go. You know what I mean? Do you find that to be suspicious that the Bauerfeets took off to Alaska and then they went to Puerto Rico?
It was kind of odd that they did take off for Alaska, but like I said, all the information, the Amber Alerts reached all the way up to Alaska, Canada, all the way clear across the United States. So if they happen to took him out for a gas station or go somewhere, yeah, he would have been spotted and he would have been recovered. So right there, yeah, it's suspicious, but there was no facts that he was anywhere near.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now my understanding is the Amber Alert is not nationwide.
No,
so
but
the authorities in Tennessee, it doesn't go past Tennessee.
I know, but it was pushed out by the FBI. It did reach up all the way up there, all the way around.
Okay, let's see what old girl has to say about Sebastian. I really don't like it, especially in Summer's case. When someone says it's a cold case, I get it. The terminology is so confusing. I just don't like anyone to think they have gotten away with something, you know?
Right.
You could certainly pay out. You could certainly have people come forward and treat them, at least in the FBI, as informants and keep their information quiet. We pay informants all the time that we don't publicly display who they are. Certainly the FBI knows, but nobody else would ever know.
Now, remember, y'all, this is the chick that when they were searching for biological evidence in the sewer and the manhole outside of the Union Street apartment in the case of Harmony Montgomery, all she was focused on was the FBI replacing the damn refrigerator that they took out. She never even put 2 and 2 together like me and my girl Just Me did, and many of you that followed Harmony's case, that they removed that refrigerator because at one time Harmony had been in it. She made it sound like they just thought it'd be nice to get them a new fridge. I'm with you, Miss Kay.
Right now, I'm just going to let you know I can't see the chat.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm putting stuff up. You don't need to worry about it. I don't like anyone feeling like they are forgotten either.
So there's all sorts of carrots you can dangle in a case like this to say, please, if anybody has information, you're going to get $50,000 if it leads to finding him. So that's a big concern when I first saw that, because again, when you have leads coming in and you're constantly investigating, you don't need to offer $50,000 for leads. Why? Because they are right there. You don't need $50,000 to get people to give you information. So when I first saw that, obviously it gave me great pause, and it made me wonder if they're running out of leads, if they're running out of possibilities as to what they believe happened to Sebastian Rogers. It made me also wonder if they know or believe they know what happened to Sebastian Rogers. But that second case I told you about, or the second instance that you have to consider, and that is you may think you know who's responsible. You may even have circumstantial evidence that's.
Dear Lord, she's making my head hurt. Obviously, she doesn't have anyone in the FBI, former coworkers that trust her, because she's saying the same shit we're all saying.
Right. I don't think she has any leads in the FBI, the people that give her information of what's going on. And right now, there's only very little leads that prove that how he got gone. But in the facts of evidence, hard evidence, there's not enough there to prove the facts to be true.
Well, and we say it in every case, you know, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. We say it in every case. They're not going to tell us what they know. Now, Moon Shadow and I are on the same page. I think he is buried where the construction site was. Possible accident occurred there, and he got actually buried by the debris. They did not shut down that site. That's always bothered me, that they did not shut down that site. And I'm telling you right now, because I know how the internet works, if they went out there right now and they tore down the new construction and excavated that whole lot and found Sebastian, God, I would hate for that to happen. People would still not believe it. Do you think, trucking for autism, do you think that's a possibility since the dogs did hit at that construction site?
Once again, I mean, it's only a 5% slim chance, but right now there hasn't been no sightings or evidence leading to that, but it is on the table of the investigators. They are looking into that, but right now they just pushed to the side to try to find the evidence to prove that he is.
Well, I thought they were going to find something when they went to that landfill, because I thought people kept saying, well, that's weird. That landfill, they wouldn't have the rubbish, the garbage, the trash from the neighborhood. It's from the construction site. That landfill services the construction site. And I haven't been able to get that out of my mind. Thank you for that, Moon Shadow. Not because we are thinking alike, but because I think it's a really great comment. Go ahead.
And I want to put it out a real fact. I used to be a truck driver in the garbage industry. And anytime that we go into residence, all companies do ask, do not go in there before 7 o'clock, because you can wake up people or you can do things. But we always start in there in the residential around 6:45. A lot of waste management don't get into the residential until about 6:45. So a lot of people got that wrong, because it is mandatory by the company to do the business first, then work into the resident to start picking up the trash there.
Gutter Snipe said, I'm sorry, I don't believe he's there. See, we're just having this conversation. Kim McD said the landfill that caught on fire, is that the landfill? Because they burn off landfills quite a bit.
Yeah, they do burn off a lot of landfills at times because of the hazmat and the chemicals. They do want to burn them out, and so they won't leak into the ground and cause problems. And they do have methane pipes and all that leak into, and they got tankers that come in and pump it out every day.
We have a question from Victoria. She wants to know if you have a channel. I know you used to.
I used to, but no, I don't. I don't put out information anymore after the channel bashing, and after I got picked on and bullied, and I don't have a channel anymore.
Well, you have friends here. Don't worry about it.
I know.
We got your back.
that somebody's
I
responsible.
just rather stay in
Is
the
it
woods and
strong enough? Is it strong enough for a prosecutor to take your case? And I also want to really quickly say, circumstantial evidence sometimes is much stronger than direct evidence. In other words, an eyewitness. Eyewitnesses are notoriously wrong. They get confused. They remember small amounts of detail, but sometimes not enough.
Tell you what, I could do a whole show just by what you guys are saying. Gene Ellen said they said he hides in real tight spots, like the neighbor said that they found him under a car one time. She said, I believe that's where they will find him, between like a ledge and that construction site. Boy, that is hard to even think about. What do you think about that, Trucker?
well, if you take a regular 2x4 and you put insulation and drywall on there, and most of us are past the 4-inch width of our body, and it'd be, if you look at his body structure, it'd be hard to put him in the mall.
Mm-hmm. Shay said Kentucky law states you have to have a probable cause to get a search warrant and a judge's sign off. So what was the probable cause that led law enforcement there? Easy. The dogs hit on the construction site. That was their probable cause.
In my opinion, to make an exact identification of a person. So while they typically can provide a lot of details, they can't say in a lineup that that's the person unequivocally, and that is direct evidence. But circumstantial cases are so very strong because it's like weaving together all the clues that lead to the answer of who committed a crime. I'll give you an example of what circumstantial evidence is. If you go to sleep and you look outside and your grass is green, and you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and you look outside and your grass is covered in beautiful white snow, you didn't directly see that snow come down, but you can say 1,000% with no doubt in your mind that it snowed. That's how strong circumstantial evidence can be.
Thank you for the kindergarten definition of circumstantial evidence.
Right.
I'm just loving all the thoughts and everything you guys are bringing up. Angie Baby said, in my opinion, he's at that construction site. What would it take for them to excavate the whole thing?
First off, you really got to find some type of hard evidence, fingerprints, or even a scent to go in there and get a search warrant. Then you got to take X-ray machines in there to find out if he is there. And bring in X-ray machines are highly costly to get people who are trained on it to come in and do that.
I apologize. Pat K liked the analogy. Yeah, normally they do X-ray first, but sometimes, I mean, if a dog hits somewhere.
But they still got to find proof and evidence that if the body is hiding in like concrete or a wall, they still got to find some proof of evidence that like X-ray or taking little cameras and going.
That goes without saying. There's always got to be evidence. They're not just going to go and just start bulldozing, to hell and back.
No, they got to have evidence and hardcore. Some proof is stating that he is in there.
Well, and we spoke at length several weeks ago. We don't cover Sebastian as much as others. There's Robin. She said, Sebastian Strong, Sebastian Strong. Well, I mean, I don't think this is a matter of funding because let's look at it. You have Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. You have the FBI, Sumner County. I doubt they have the money for something like that. But I mean, if you remember in Summer Wells' case, the TBI went straight to Congress and said they wanted to get a plane from Warner Robins out of Georgia it's one of those planes they use in Afghanistan that can X-ray through rock, and they got it done. It could have already been done, and they just didn't tell anybody.
All right. Because they could have come in at night,
So,
late night, and had
Is
it
law
done.
enforcement at a stage right now where they don't have enough strong circumstantial evidence to bring that case? Is that the case? Do they know who's responsible or believe they know, and they're still trying to weave it together? I've always said, and I actually did a whole live on this, that there's only a couple of possibilities. There's three. I always say you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be in law enforcement. You take common sense and hard work and, hone your skills, and you can put great cases together. There's only three possibilities. You ready? We've talked about it. Number one, Sebastian Rogers got out of bed in the middle of the night, in the wee hours of the night, after midnight, it's according to Katie, opened up the front door, according to Chris, with no shoes on, according to Katie and Chris, and walked out of that house barefoot with nothing but a flashlight keychain fob and sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Now, many have said it wasn't cold that night. Well, it's just baloney. It was cold that night, not when they left the...
I guess it depends on your version of cold. Because I know Michelle After Dark, 51 degrees to her is not cold. 51 degrees to me, I am about to come unglued. I run right back to the house and make a pot of chili. Shay's Safe Place. I want to know why law enforcement drove CP around to different locations like they did Stephen Stearns. That was actually explained, and I think this was by Nick Barris. They wanted Katie to be at home in case Sebastian came back. Chris obviously lives there and knows a lot about Sebastian because, well, he lives with him. And so they drove around to places where they thought he could be. Robin, my girl Robin, she said, what about ground penetrating machine? I don't know if they've used that or not at the construction site. I don't know. That's what they used in the case of Michael Vaughn and many others. Pat Kay said, I can see Sebastian leaving if he overheard a conversation that freaked him out.
Bingo.
Me too.
Bingo.
Because you have a 3-hour conversation that was going on. He's obviously got ears. He was obviously upset earlier in the night because when Katie was talking to him, he had his ears plugged. Did you see that, Trucking for Autism?
Pat K, you hit it right on the nose. Yes. Anybody with autism, they would like to overhear of the conversation. And say, for instance, we'll just put this in theory on the table. And if he really loved his dad set and all that, and then he turned around and overheard Katie and Chris on the phone, especially if she had it on the speaker, and he overheard something that made him upset, most definitely he will take off and run.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a theory, and it's on the table that, yeah, he might have overheard something in that 3-hour window. Good question, Pat.
And also, he had already been threatened before that they were going to put him in like a behavioral health type of school, you know. He already knew that they wanted him to go live with his father. And his father said, give him a year to straighten up. That is what Seth said. I'm not part of this family. So whatever was going on that phone call could have been enough to upset him. And he just took off. I mean, if you're that pissed off, would you stop to put your damn tennis shoes on and tie him up?
No, not with autism. They have sensory issues like shoes. If they don't feel good with them, yeah, they'll just flat out and run. I mean, they will not stop and think. And when they have a total meltdown, they don't think about anything but just get to a safe place and to calm down. They will actually literally run. And like I said in the chat, guys, when autism have a meltdown, it's just like a blackout. And they will actually run until they find a safe spot to calm down. That's up to them. When they do this, it's hard to catch them and hard to hold them because they will break an arm. And when they get their adrenaline flowing, they can do harm.
And remember, none of this is evidence. Here's my disclaimer. This is just a healthy discussion with amazing, amazing people. Now, elaborate on that, because I believe Julie, when she was on the channel, said, this channel, by the way, she has her own channel. She had made it clear basically what you're saying. So elaborate, please.
Elaborate is when they have a sensory issue, like sounds of clothing that doesn't feel good for them, like wool and all that. They do have sensory issues, and they will go like berserks, and they will have like a blackout. They won't know it, but they will just automatically just get up and run. And when they do this, it's hard to catch them and hard to detain them. And when you do, they will break arms on the adrenaline. And I've seen that done.
And Pat Mason, her nephew has done that before.
Yep.
And it seems to me throughout the day, he was getting more and more anxious, because when they were walking into Texas Roadhouse, and this is after all the hustle and bustle of the weekend, something was going on. He didn't want to be bothered. And he had his fingers in his ears. Like, I don't want to hear anything.
Right, because it could be a certain music. It could be somebody screaming, like a girl with a high-pitched scream could have sent a sensory issue off. Or
well, I'm not on the autism spectrum, and I can tell you what, I would have the same reaction if I heard someone talking shit about me at 15. I'd
or
be like,
somebody yelling at the top of their lungs. Yes, they do have very high sensitive sensory issues. If they get above a point, yeah, it does bother them. They will put their fingers in their ears to kind of tone the volume out.
Yep. Now, if there was any substance to all of these CPS and DFACS reports, I would think that they would be honing in more of those, because I can't tell you how many cases we've gone through where CPS has been involved and everything was unfounded.
And that's what's bothering me right there. Why didn't the teachers actually help, see us cry for help? I mean, autism will cry for help in many different ways and different forms. But if the teachers don't understand it, yeah, they'll just ignore it and say, there's nothing wrong. Just sit down and do your work and all that. But there were certain teachers there, were trying to help him, and they did understand him. But all the other teachers stopped them from doing what they're needing to and report it. And see, that's the problem right there, is our school system is not very well trained or understand autism. They only got trained in school the basics. And if you can't see it or how to work with them in the public, why offer to do it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we saw a video where they were having a birthday party. It was like one of those really loud, noisy places, you know, the video games. And he was kind of huddled over in the corner. He didn't seem to enjoy that. Robin said the restaurant place music, at Texas Roadhouse. If you've eaten there recently, when you get in the parking lot, you can already hear the music. It could have been bothering him. It's really loud. That's a great point, Robin.
Well, it depends if they were playing country music or hard rock or heavy metal or whatnot. I mean, it depends on.
Well, I mean, it's Texas Roadhouse. I'm assuming they weren't playing Kanye or P. Diddy. So I'm assuming it was country music, but it was really loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do have it pretty loud. I've been to some of them. Yeah, they do have it kind of loud.
Right.
Not when they left, you know, the Texas Roadhouse. I think it was about in the 50s. You can look at this chart. But it was certainly cold out. It would have been in the 30s at that hour in the morning. I mean, we can look exactly on this chart. You know, 30 in the 30s. So now you're in the 30s. You are barefoot. It's what was said, not socks, barefoot. I'm going to explain in a minute, and I know I've touched on it before. Perhaps if something nefarious happened, why you would say that. And you're going to walk out in the middle of the night. If we are to believe this scenario, then this means he is somewhere in those woods that have been searched, and he left walking barefoot and didn't leave a scent trail for the dogs to follow. We've gone over the dog so many times. In a nutshell, there is not one dog that hit on Sebastian Rogers' scent. Yes, there was human scent that was followed to the retention pond that was drained. Yes, we know, over to the construction site. Not Sebastian Rogers. That's pretty critical piece of information there. So
now, not to shame anyone or make anybody feel bad, but it's kind of always woulda, coulda, shoulda. Jennifer Coffendaffer, I'm going to switch this in a second. She don't freaking know. You know, Sebastian, I believe, would be here if Seth had taken him when he had the chance. Can you imagine the guilt he has?
He had many chances to take this kid, but he offered not to.
You got some background noise. Where you at?
I'm outside. Hang on.
Okay, you're fine.
I for one, I give that about 1%. 1% that he was able to leave. Remember, there is a lot of video surveillance coverage. According to some people, over 100 hours worth. Law enforcement has it all. And what has law enforcement said? Now that they got the date right, from the 25th to the 20, that he last seen on the 25th, reported on the 26th, he hasn't been seen. Not seen since the 25th, since Katie Proudfoot saw him. So how did he just put on his, Hogwarts magic cloak and walk out unseen? Didn't leave any scent from those little feet behind, and somehow was able, in 30-degree weather, had the wherewithal to hide himself somewhere in the woods that nobody could find. I'm going with less than 1%. I always have to give something a possibility because I've seen some strange things, but less than 1% chance that occurred. Way less. I mean, it's not even a probability, it's a possibility, and it's on the lowest spectrum. Second option, he was met by somebody, perhaps online. We know, there's a recent photograph circulating that he is on a computer, yet he supposedly didn't have computer access. But remember, he did have computer access. We know he did. It was whether he had internet access. Who could he have communicated with at school? Remember, I've always found it odd that they took the computer that was dusty, that they didn't have the cord for, that Seth Rogers had said he hadn't used forever, but they left behind the computer that he actually did use. I've never understood that. And I hope law enforcement somehow got a hold of that. According to Seth, they haven't. I don't understand that. And that has me very confused. But nevertheless, that he was somehow contacted, and that in that light video that we see, there's two separate light sources. No, they aren't headlights. They are very small and they don't move in tandem. They move independently, and they move from Seth Rogers' house. And it's the light video, in my opinion, is indisputable evidence that at some point there were people, at least two people out there.
That's been explained over and over and over. Poor Seth was confused, or it just got relayed wrong. They said it was from a trash truck. I don't think TBI said trash truck. Now, remember, his mom said it, and then he didn't really want to touch on it. It's two people taking the damn trash out before they go to work. It's dark. They had lights. That's the reason they're moving in different directions. My husband and I do it every Monday morning. And if it's dark and the floodlights don't come on, we turn on our cell phones. And it's so frustrating because every new video they come out with, turns out to be a nothing burger. What do you, I mean, it's so frustrating. What do you think, Trucking for Autism?
Well, the thing of it is, there were two people with a flashlight. There was no garbage trucks. There was no caution lights or no spotlights showing that it was a garbage truck. I know that for a fact.
Let me rephrase. I said it wrong. No, not until later in the day. The trash didn't pick up till later in the day.
Right.
These people took their trash and left their trash cans out before they went to work for the trash company to get it later in the day.
Or either that, they let the two dogs out and they took off running and they had to go find them, and they were using the flashlight. There's numerous of things that it could be possibility that's on the table, but right now they don't have no actual factual proof. It was pointed to Sebastian Jarre, and that's what FBI and all them are saying. It's not factual because they don't know if it was actually pointed to Sebastian Jarre.
Well, they flat out said there's no evidentiary value, and they explained these are two people that were taking out their trash before they went to work.
Or chasing down two dogs that got loose.
I can't get over the inventory that Chris and Katie keep in their house. All shoes are accounted for, and a flashlight's missing. Okay? The only way I'm going to know a flashlight's missing around here is if the damn electric goes out. I'm going through all the drawers going, where's the damn flashlight?
Right.
How can you be so meticulous about what is in your house? Did you ever find that to be just a little odd?
A little.
Yeah. But it's also the military regimen.
Yeah, being behind a military background, yeah, they like to put their stuff in certain spots, and if it's not there, yeah, they will freak out.
With lights. I say at least two people because it was so dark, but we could see two light sources connected to two people. Were other people out there? They could be because it's so dark you can't make anything out except for these two little lights. I'm talking about Nick Bears's footage. So could Sebastian Rogers have gone out undetected, unheard, without the dogs barking, decided not to put his shoes on, didn't bring his favorite switch, didn't bring his cell phone, did have his glasses, and walked out there to meet somebody? Could that have happened? We have to give that a possibility. And then the issue I have with that is we see one of the light sources leave, and we see the other house go back in the direction of the Proudfoot home. Okay? Nevertheless.
Now, any neighbor that has spoken out has said that Secret Service, they were utilizing them and they were going house to house to house to house, getting ring footage, Arlo, ADT, anything like that. Somebody would have seen a damn flashlight. So what is the whole, I mean, if he was out there with a flashlight, that would have been picked up somewhere, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it would have.
He didn't take his money with him, so if he's going to meet up with an internet person, don't you think he would take his cell phone with him? I don't know.
Yeah.
Robin said, why wouldn't they take the garbage out before it got dark? Same with me and my husband. We do it every Monday morning because we have winds and stuff here. We don't want dogs getting in it, so we do it in the morning. We don't leave
raccoons or whatever.
Yeah, raccoons. You ever open one up? You got a damn possum in there?
We have to consider that a third party was involved in kidnapping, taking, maybe voluntarily at first, Sebastian Rogers. If we are to believe that, where was the vehicle that entered? If we are to believe that, did they just walk up?
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection is right. She's a dumbass. And Don B's exactly right. If I went missing like right after this show, they would be like, oh no, Brooks was on doing a YouTube. She used a StreamYard. She had texted this person that morning. Trucking for Autism was on there at 10:15 a.m. She put Don B's comment up. So we're going to get a hold of Don B and ask him what he thinks about how the show went and anybody's after her. So that's exactly right. And especially after a year, they would have it. They would have that one knocked out. What a sweet thing to say, Robin. Robin said, Katie, if you need help advocating, I'm an excellent advocator. That's going to make me cry. Yeah, so that ship has sailed. So what is it? I just keep leaning toward that damn construction site. I don't know why.
Across the neighborhood unseen. Does law enforcement have video footage that is important? We know that the video footage of the person that appeared after the dog walker, that a certain person decided to go media crazy sensational and release that and say how important it was, this huge break in the case, only to have law enforcement come out, and they haven't made many statements, but they went on record and said, absolutely, that's not a break in the case. We've known about that forever, and it's inconsequential. It is not something that is relevant to what happened.
Hold the door.
Objection
Hold
to that.
crazy. Okay. Jen in Georgia left coffee grabber $5. Girl, you come in my chat all the time. You've never even dropped a dime. Son of a bitch. Where's my $5, Jen in Georgia? Just kidding.
Man, I object to that.
They've obviously identified who that person was and why they were there, and it did not intersect with what happened to Sebastian Rogers. And so I just want to dispel that, because I don't think I'm not sure if I've given a live since that happened, because that all happened around.
Man, she's irrelevant.
Okay, I can't do this anymore. I think we got to the bottom of that one. Let's go to real facts. Okay, let's look at police off the cuff. He has put everything together. I just love Bill. Do you ever watch Police Off the Cuff with Bill?
Sometimes, I mean, he does have good factual information, and there's sometimes he does kind of mislead his audience. I mean, he is actually a true cop that he was on the force, and yeah, there are some things he has real factual on.
He just follows law enforcement. Robin said, who takes the garbage out at 3 a.m.? People that have to be at work at 4. Sometimes I've taken, if my husband has to be to work, say at like 4 in the morning, it goes out at 3 in the morning. I mean, everybody has different schedules. I don't think the people that were taking out their trash have anything to do with it. Thank you, Sophia. Now I got my $5. Woo-hoo! Take that, Jen in Georgia.
Clever teenager who wasn't prone to extreme actions, such as running away. She also remembered hearing a loud thud from his room at 10 p.m. on the night of February 25th.
Normal, he was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, good night, Mom, I love you.
Katie says she went to wake up Sebastian around 6 a.m. Monday for school, and he was gone. Within minutes, Katie says she was on the phone with Chris, who was working out of town, and they quickly called 911.
And he's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean,
You know, this really bothers me. This really does bother me, because she's telling in the first interview, and then there's Teletubby sitting next to her. She's like, he's not a runner. I don't know what make him walk out that door. I think it goes back to the 3-hour conversation. I think he overheard something that intimidated him. But in the 911 call, it was said, Mom said he will get out. He will get out. The neighbors said he does hide. One of the neighbors said they had seen him under a car and had to get him out from under there. So, when you're speaking to the general public and you want people to be on the lookout for your son, don't say, he's not a runner. I don't know what made him walk out that door. But you can see the sullenness in her face. Something happened. And I hate when she says, but you're not in trouble. It reminds me of the case with, I got another $5. Eat it, Jen in Georgia. Actually, she's super cool. I love her.
Go ahead and make a true fact in this one.
What are you talking about?
Remember everybody saying that they got him diagnosed at 12 with autism? But the thing of it is, I'm just saying, this is my opinion.
He was 14. It was in August.
Yeah, but why didn't they diagnose him at age 5? Why didn't they check him over then and tested him instead of age 13 or 14 or whatever? That right there just shows that they neglected on certain many things, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Some parents can be in denial.
Yes.
That is the truth. That is the truth. They really do. I just think if you want the general public to look for your child, don't say things like, well, I don't know what made him walk out that door. I don't know, but it just, and I hate when she says, it breaks my heart when she says, just come home, you're not in trouble. It reminds me of Hurley Dilly, who was found in the chimney. And his mom said, just come home, you're not in trouble. Scotty Morris, we have a whole playlist on Scotty Morris. Go check it out. When his mom goes, you're not in trouble, just come home. Well, they found him a week or so later in an abandoned house. So he's not a runner per Katie, but she told the police that he's done it before. But for general consumption, and it could be like an ass-saving measure, you don't want everybody in the world, calling you a bad mom, so you're going to cover as much as you can. I don't know.
He's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means.
Surprisingly, Mom Katie Proudfoot and stepdad Chris Proudfoot didn't investigate the source of the disturbance. When they woke up next morning, it was all too late. Sebastian Rogers was not in his room the next morning. Now, Katie doesn't wait around. After checking everywhere she can think of, she knows something's wrong. She contacts the police right away. In a small town like Sumner County, Tennessee, the local police don't waste any time either. They understand the urgency, and before the morning's over, they've reached out to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. By that morning, an endangered child alert is issued. Reports from the next.
Okay, I want to answer your question. Trucking for Autism, Naughty McPoppins said Sebastian's late diagnosis had to do with the chromosome deletion. He has symptoms that can be mimicked or can be identical to those of autism. This is the reason I heard for the late diagnosis for the autism. Feisty Mama said, my brother was in denial with my niece. She was a teen when she was diagnosed with autism. Now, Feisty Mama, I have a question, and if you want to answer it, have at it. If you don't feel comfortable, don't worry about it. When I was going through these different articles of missing teens with autism, okay, they're all boys. Now, you're saying your niece, which is a girl, okay, even in 2025, your niece is a girl. Did she ever try to run away, or what do they call it, elope or hide or anything? Because all of these articles are boys.
It's classified as a meltdown. Is what they classify it as.
September Virgo got my $5. Thank you. Jen in Georgia, she's really eating it today.
Next day suggests Sebastian was last seen in Hendersonville, wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and his glasses. The community starts to mobilize. More than 200 searchers come out to help. You've got local residents, trained searchers, canine units, mounted officers, drones, and helicopters all combing the area, searching for any trace of Sebastian. On February 27th, the search takes a serious turn. Authorities escalate the alert to an Amber Alert. An Amber Alert isn't issued lightly. It means the investigators are worried that Sebastian may have been abducted, that he could be in immediate danger. They're working against the clock here, and they know every second counts. Detectives even play Sebastian's favorite song, Eye of the Tiger, over loudspeakers, hoping that maybe, just maybe, it'll draw him out, give him a moment of comfort, or help him find his way. Imagine that, using something as personal as a favorite song.
I really appreciate you guys opening up about something so sensitive. Just Bell said, my daughter is autistic and she's never been an eloper. I'm telling you, every one of these articles, and I shared many of them, and I'm not saying I'm 100% correct, but it was boy, 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 boy. Oh boy, Don B said an autistic little girl ran in the middle of the night here. K9 did track her to a lake. She drowned. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Okay, that's horrible.
Sometimes it happens.
Stillwater said, I want to know, is Eye of the Tiger really one of Sebastian's favorite songs, or is there something else going on here? According to Seth, it is his favorite song. And so when Seth was driving around yelling, Sebastian, 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 he started playing it first, and then law enforcement started blaring it. They were even blaring it from a helicopter. Pat K, thank you. I'm getting $5 all the day. $5. Make me holla. Hey, Trucking for Autism, put $5 in there. I know you got paid last week.
Right now, I can't get
just to get a response.
I'm just
a sign that he's still out there. It's heartbreaking and a little desperate, but they're not giving up. Tennessee cops searching for missing autistic boy Sebastian Rogers blast Eye of the Tiger into the woods a week after he vanished from his bed. Sebastian Rogers, 15, left his family house with a flashlight on February 26. Tennessee state troopers used a drone to blast Eye of the Tiger to message him. Authorities are also reaching out to the community, asking everyone to check their security cameras, their doorbell footage, anything that might show where Sebastian went or who he was with. This isn't just the authorities anymore. It's the entire community joining forces, trying to piece together where the 15-year-old could have gone. But as the hours ticked by and the days stretched on, there was nothing. No footage, no sightings, just that image of a kid in a black sweatshirt and sweatpants. As the case moved further, police and researchers guessed towards the more sinister outcome of a nefarious crime. Authorities took the extraordinary step of draining a pond near the Rogers home, hoping to find any trace of him. But after hours of hard work, they came up empty-handed. Despite multiple tips and security footage, submissions from vigilant locals, nothing substantial surfaced.
If someone calls and says, hey, I think we saw him by the pond, we're going to the pond and checking.
For lack of a better term, we threw everything that we possibly could throw at this. I'll show you a picture of the map in just a moment. We absolutely obliterated covering the area where Sebastian could have walked.
As if this case couldn't get any stranger, just a few days later, on March 7th, the police searched a landfill in White Plains, Kentucky. This wasn't based on a specific tip, but rather a precaution because this landfill received trash from the Rogers neighborhood. It's a grim and unsettling step, searching through the refuse from a community in hopes of finding any hint of a missing child.
And the construction site. Not just the neighborhood, but the construction site. Look at that. Cat OG, member for 40 months. We've been friends longer than that, though, right? I'm getting all emotional up here. going on a long time, baby. Or as Candace Wells says, 40 months going on 60.
Once again, though, it was a dead end.
Breaking news in the search for 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office tells News 2 their investigators, assisted by Kentucky State Police, are searching the landfill in Kentucky where trash went from Sebastian's neighborhood. Kentucky State Police confirmed to News 2 investigators are still on the scene at the landfill in Hopkins County. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office says there is no specific information that indicates evidence related to the search for Sebastian may be there. The sheriff's office says it's an investigative precautionary measure.
Even the canine units, often instrumental in tracing missing individuals, couldn't pick up a scent trail. It was like Sebastian had simply vanished without leaving any trace at all. These were critical days in the investigation. Each new search, each dead end only deepened the mystery. For Sebastian's family and the Sumner County community, it left a lingering, unanswered question. If not here, then where? As is the case with most missing people cases, law enforcement scaled back to save budgets. Physical search efforts were dialed down around the 9th of March as police officials were asked to focus on the investigative side of the case. While local interest peaked, there were multiple questions asked over the absence of both parents. Katie and Chris, the stepdad, had not made a public appearance since Sebastian's death. One of the first things we see in a missing child's case is the parents coming out and leaving a statement. The emotional side of the statement can bring together community groups and strengthen the search. But this was found lacking here. Both Chris and Katie maintained silence through the first 10 days of Sebastian's absence. In fact, their first public appearance was recorded on the 4th of March. The two appeared sullen, but speculations were now gaining steam. On March 10th, Sebastian's biological father, Seth Rogers, spoke out, and you could hear the worry in his words. He didn't believe his son just wandered off. He had a firm belief that his ex-wife was to blame for the disappearance.
That your wife allowed your son Sebastian, your ex-wife, I should say, your ex-wife allowed Sebastian to be in a situation where he was molested and raped?
In California. And Chris in her apartment. They let a child who was 5 years older than my son play with my son and didn't bother to check on him there neither.
Sebastian wasn't that type of kid. He was cautious, and he wasn't a fan of going barefoot. Seth made a point to mention that detail. Something had happened years ago that made Sebastian uncomfortable going without shoes. So the idea that he'd leave without them just didn't sit right with him. A few days later, on March 14, there was a new lead. A news outlet, WTBF, got a hold of some footage from outside the Proudfoot home. It showed lights moving around the yard around 3 a.m. the night Sebastian disappeared. Looked like flashlights. It raised questions. Who was outside at that hour? Was it connected to Sebastian's disappearance? Or was it just a coincidence?
The video you're about to see is from early Monday morning, February 26th, around 3:10 a.m. Now, there are no...
Great point from Don B. Again, if somebody could put Don B's channel link in here, I adore his coverage of Summer Wells. I've done a lot of deep dives on the back of Don B. He said, and people wonder why we look at the proud feats. Can you elaborate on that, Trucking for Autism?
I can in a way, but
Go ahead.
All right, let's go back in theory about the she heard the thud and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory of when I was studying autism people that you got to continuous keep an eye on them, and to make sure they're doing everything well. Okay. And to make sure they're doing everything like getting ready to get bath or whatever. But still, with autism, that you still got to check in on their room and make sure they're safe and out of harm's way. So if he happened to trip over a toy and thumped his head on the corner of a desk, yeah, you should be in there checking on them. But like regular people, no, they'll bounce right back like most of us. But with autism, you really do have to go in there and check. That's in my opinion. So go ahead.
In my opinion, it was a very strange explanation as to why she didn't check. She kept saying for obvious reasons, as if we're supposed to believe that she doesn't know how to knock on the door and say, is everything okay in there? She makes it sound like he's in there jerking it with her Bath and Body Works, and she was embarrassed to open the door. She goes, for obvious reasons. I'm like, gross, lady. Just knock on the damn door and say, everything okay? Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Go back to bed. That's it. Did you not find it odd when she said, for obvious reasons, I didn't open the door?
Yeah, that was a little odd and peculiar of how she acted and presented herself. She should have just got up off her butt and go checked on them anyway, especially when you put autism on sleeping meds. Yeah, it could affect them in many ways. It could have just knocked him out, and when he was getting ready for bed, yeah, he could have fell over and hit something. So right there, she is on neglect and failure to go check and to see if he was okay.
Well, I mean, I think that's the least of their worries at this point because he's missing. Okay? Yeah, that's the least of their worries.
Street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood. So it is at night, pitch black. What you will see here are these 2 points of light believed to be people with flashlights in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame.
Because they were taking their trash out is what was told. It has been, that whole thing is done. Now, are you guys familiar with a good friend of our channel, Jules True Crime Reactions? She has been so mad about this video for months. Check her out when she says, why is Nick Barris getting people going on this video?
Yeah, when it's irrelevant. We don't, a lot of people, detectives and all that, saying it wasn't really pointed at the Sebastian's house anyway. So, and they really don't have no proof saying it was at Sebastian's house.
Mm-hmm. Sabrina said 3 a.m. trash out. Are they on drugs? They go to work at like 5 in the morning. Sometimes I take my trash out at 3 in the morning. If my husband has to be at work at 4, so we'll take the trash out, load up, and then I take him to work. I don't think Oscar the Grouch over there has Sebastian in his trash can. Okay, guys? I just don't.
Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it.
The next day, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation stepped in. They issued a statement saying there was no evidence of criminal activity and confirmed the family was cooperating fully. They also put out a warning asking people not to share or speculate about footage online. The TBI knew that the wrong kind of public chatter could lead to misunderstandings and hurt the case. Then on March 21st, Seth Rogers took things into his own hands again. He received a tip, and it was enough to push him into organizing a search of Natchez Trace State Park, about 100 miles from Sumner County. He led the effort himself, hoping this lead would bring answers. But again, they found nothing. No sign of Sebastian. Just another dead end. For Seth, every failed search added to the weight of what he was already carrying. This was his son, and all he had were leads that went nowhere. No answers, no closure. Just the hope that somewhere, somehow, the next clue would finally tell him what happened. On March 23rd, the United Cajun Navy stepped in. They're a volunteer group.
They didn't really do much, but I want you guys to look at something with me, okay? I just typed in missing autistic teen. 5 days ago, an autistic teen reported missing in Whittier. Amber Alert in Texas. Rowlett Police canceled. They found autistic teen. And I hate saying autistic teen. I'm just reading. Kansas City Police. Missing 14-year-old autism found. Okay, that's about Sebastian. There's another missing autistic teen from Rowlett found. LASD announced missing autistic teen from Whittier located. Orangeburg police find missing teen with autism. It's one after another. So what grabbed the public's attention about Sebastian? Is it the YouTube drama? Is it the speculation around Chris and Katie? What do you think it is? Besides hashtag found.
All right. Who was the one that had the young girl with autism? I want to ask a question on this to everybody to pay attention to this. When I talked to 30 people that are licensed in autism, I did a lot of fact checking, and a lot of them told me they do not put them on any type of meds or any ADD or bipolar meds or any sleeping meds unless it's a last resort. And they actually did tell me that if they feel comfortable around a certain people, they will come to you and ask for help. If they do not trust you, they will run or walk away and run away. I have found that to be true. And when I was experimenting with autism people as well, it is true. But a lot of people don't know how to work with them. They don't know how to get them to see it or even to be with them or to help them. They are very smart and very talented people, folks. Okay. And that's the reason why we are trying to put the awareness out there to help them. Okay. And they are beautiful people with a beautiful disability. They can play music at random without even being taught. They can go and play chess and kick you in and put you in checkmate in 7 moves. They can actually pick up a drumstick and start playing drums or piano, or even pick up sports. That's how talented they are. They don't need to be coached. They have it all within them. They just don't know how to get it unlocked and show them how to do it.
What bothers me about this case, it just seems to be so disrespectful to Sebastian. The adults, they can handle themselves, okay? We have many, many friends in this community who have, autistic family members, children, So, I would prefer people to concentrate on the able instead of the label, because one diagnosis isn't the same for everybody.
No, it's always different in everybody.
Pat K said shopping for a motorcycle was disrespectful in my opinion. Sing it, sister, I agree.
Known for their search and rescue work, often showing up for big cases like this. They just wrapped up the search for Riley Strain, a college kid who went missing in Nashville. His body had been found in the Cumberland River, but with that case closed, the United Cajun Navy turned their focus to Sebastian's disappearance. Their experience, resourceful, and most importantly, willing to go wherever they're needed. But then on March 29, just days into their search for Sebastian, they pulled out. And the reason they gave? Threats.
Yep.
Somebody had been making threats against their volunteers, enough to force them to step back from the case.
Security concerns, the United Cajun Navy is temporarily calling off their search for Sebastian Rogers. Good evening and welcome to News 2 Now at 10. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Haley Wilkes. The nonprofit organization joined the search for the teen missing out of Hendersonville last weekend. But as News 2's Sarah Smith reports, the group says the search has now become too dangerous.
If I was Sumner County, FBI, TBI, whoever, anybody with a badge, I don't care. Hell, Seth's got a badge. I would have been going nuts on anybody that got in the way of their mission. Because whether they're military trained or not, they were out there doing good work. And I think we would be further ahead in this case had they not been stopped. But that's just my opinion, as they say. What do you think?
You got a good point. I mean, there's a lot of good people out there in the public that would join groups and all that, but you got the other groups that will try to destroy it and try to keep them from finding them. I mean, it's an everyday battle.
Because, I mean, early on, Seth said, I think somebody's trying to prevent me from finding my son. Well, I'd have been asking those people that kept bothering the people that he asked to help search. I'd be like, what's your problem, home skillet?
Right.
Volunteer group United Cajun Navy reportedly getting death threats for their efforts in finding Sebastian Rogers.
Now, this raises a big question. Who would want to threaten people trying to find a missing kid? It's not just a random prank. For the United Cajun Navy to take this seriously enough to suspend their efforts, these threats...
I'm interrupting again. Don B said, were they in the right area? I don't know. Can somebody elaborate on that?
From my investigation, I mean, they were in the right area, but here's the thing. Look at the facts that they put out. He loves pets. So they should be looking at zoos. They should be looking at wildlife preservation. They should be looking at animal hospitals where he could actually change his name and start working with animals. And that's what he loved the most, people. And that's where you should be concentrating at.
Two Boston moms said, I don't believe the Cajun Navy did shit, just my opinion. Every time I hear Cajun Navy, I want to go to Cajun Ed's over on 71st and Lewis and get some crawfish. You know, it's crawfish season. Do you eat Cajun food trucking for autism?
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah.
Had to feel real,
That's
even
just
dangerous.
That's what you should be looking at.
Was it someone trying to keep them from discovering something? Or was it just an unhinged individual trying to stir fear and confusion? Either way, these weren't empty words. They had enough weight to stop an experienced search team in its tracks. It's unsettling. The Navy pulling out left a gap in the search, and it adds another layer to this mystery. Threats against the rescue team aren't typical in missing person cases. And it leaves us wondering if someone out there knows more than they're saying, or worse, if someone has a reason to keep this case from ever being solved. This wasn't the only thing that happened on March 29th. On the same day, another development came up. Katie and Chris Proudfoot, Sebastian's mother and stepfather, left their Sumner County home, the very place where Sebastian was last seen. They confirmed the move on an appearance on Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace didn't hold back. She got right to it, asking them why they left while the search for their son was still ongoing. Katie?
Okay, I'm going to address that because I did not like the answer. Nancy Grace is like, what are you doing out of town? Why are you in Mississippi? Why are you not in your house in Hendersonville? Why? Instead of Katie just saying, hey, felt like the walls were closing in. I want to get out of town. I feel safer with my husband. I don't know what the hell's going on. I know the police are looking for him. She goes, because he could be anywhere.
And here's another one I left out. He can be at the local zoos. He could have changed his name. He could be volunteering and helping there at the local zoos. But like I said, they're close, but they didn't look at a lot of these areas.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to, how they went down to Mississippi. Wouldn't it have been easier to say, because I want to be with my husband. There's too many weird people around, and I know law enforcement is looking for my son. They are stationed outside the house, all that. But instead she goes, because he could be anywhere. He could be anywhere. I'm like, at first I thought it was kind of a ridiculous thing to say. It's pathetic. But they weren't down there looking for him. They were all holed up in the RV. In the shaggin' wagon.
Yep.
Screwing like snakes on the damn RV.
Katie and Chris responded directly. Chris said he needed to get back to work, and Katie added that she'd gone with him to Memphis. But Nancy pressed further, asking if they were worried about being away from home while the search was still active. Katie admitted she was, but she explained it in simple terms. My son should be anywhere, she said. My son could be anywhere. We're looking everywhere and anywhere. It's a tough call to make, leaving the home base during a search like this. Some might question it, but Katie's reasoning was clear. She's not limiting the search to one place. She's looking for her son, where it might take her. These two developments on the same day, the Navy pulling out over threats and the Proudfoots leaving Sumner County, left a lot of people with questions. And they added even more complexity to a case that already seemed to have more unknowns than answers. April 2nd brought a small development in the search for Sebastian. Investigators announced they'd found a pair of glasses, but they couldn't confirm whether they were Sebastian's. It was just another.
Hey, his parents would know if they were his glasses.
Well,
I understand there's a lot of people with black frame glasses. They would know if they were his. They could have checked the prescription. Those were planted. Someone did that to dig around with this case and get stuff going. Sorry, but that's what happened.
Yeah, but not only that, they could have found a piece of hair of Sebastian and got the DNA, and it could have matched it, and then turn around, there was nothing. So, it was planted. A lot of people do plant stuff.
Yeah, there's a code on them. Hell, people have been, now this does not relate to Sebastian. They will determine a body by breast implants. So I just think it's really disgusting that somebody just happened to put those black readers without a scratch on them. I thought that was pretty damn rude.
And low.
Low, yeah.
Another lead that went nowhere. And authorities took the chance to remind the public there was still no evidence pointing to criminal activity in his disappearance. Then, on April 17th, Sebastian's biological father, Seth Rogers, decided to take matters into his own hands. Frustrated with the lack of progress, he hired private investigators to help track down any new leads. He wasn't going to wait around. He wanted fresh eyes on the case, hoping they might see something that had been missed. A few weeks later, on May 7th, there was a glimmer of hope. Investigators were looking into a possible sighting of a teen who looked like Sebastian in North Carolina. Seth had seen the photo himself and believed it could be his son.
And it wasn't.
And that in itself was very sad, too, because he took off to North Carolina. Chango Superstar said, if our government would give us real access to Google Earth, they have the capability. I'm going to have to say, for me and the people that hate my ass, I'm going to say no. Because there would be pictures floating around of me drinking beer in my pool in the backyard.
Right.
Taking the bathing suit out of my ass, chasing my cat, yelling at my husband, getting into it with my neighbor because he won't, trim his trees. Shit would go on and on. And I couldn't imagine what some of these people would do with it. Woo!
But soon after, that hope was dashed when investigators confirmed the boy in the photo wasn't Sebastian. Another lead gone cold, another letdown for a father who just wanted his son back. By May 21st, Seth Rogers had had enough. He publicly called on the FBI to take over the investigation. He didn't want this case to fall through the cracks, didn't want it to become just another cold case. Seth was adamant. He wanted the nation's top law enforcement agency on his son's case, pushing for answers that by now seemed further away than ever. Each step forward in this case seemed to be met with 2 steps back. For Seth Rogers, every dead end, every misidentified photo was another painful reminder of his son's absence. And as he pushed for the FBI's involvement, it was clear that he wouldn't stop until he had answers. By September, a new face joined the search for Sebastian Rogers. Dwayne Chapman, better known as Dog the Bounty Hunter. It had been months since Sebastian disappeared, and the active search had scaled back, with law enforcement focusing more on the investigative side of things. But for Seth Rogers, Sebastian's biological father, giving up was never an option. When Chapman joined, he took immediate action. He raised the reward for any information leading to Sebastian from $50,000 to $100,000. But he didn't stop there. This week, he announced another increase, bringing the reward up to $175,000. His team claims they've received valuable new information.
Debbie said Chris was only a careers officer, wasn't he? Chris is the Jennifer Coffendaver of the military. He didn't do shit, okay? He didn't do nothing. All right, so where do you think this is going now, Trucking for Autism? And I know you have a story you wanted to tell us.
Yeah, I'll tell the quick story when you're ready.
Okay.
Including leads in Oregon and New York. These are serious tips, and they're sparking new movement in a case that's been at a standstill for too long. Chapman's team is even looking to expand.
I cut it off there because they seem to have stepped away. Supposedly they were going to start again in the spring, but tomato, tomato. Spring to me is spring, it's different to other people. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine taking advice from Chris, and talk about hindering an investigation. He doesn't know enough about Sebastian to be driving around. His Teletubby ass should have been sitting at home, and they should have been driving around with Katie. But if Chris is the problem, if Sebastian showed up, he could have ran away again because he didn't want to be around Chris.
Well, then the signs are leading that he doesn't want to be around Chris. And Katie didn't take the heed of warnings, but yet they did marry, and she didn't take the heed of warnings from Sebastian. And they ended up here in this predicament.
Mm-hmm. So tell your story. How did you start helping children and families that are strong and not wrong? Let me put it that way.
What, autism?
Uh-huh.
There was I was working at a fairground, and one day, a 13-year-old autism just came out of nowhere, out of the blue. And I was on my phone, and I happened to look down, and I about stumbled over him. And he was on the level 1 spectrum, and his parents were a little bit older. And I asked him, "What can I do for you?" He just wanted to ride that ride, the yo-yo. And it's a fun ride. But to make the long story short, yes, autism people know when they're are good people and when they're not. And I will demonstrate that in this. And so he stuttered and everything. So I put about a 30-minute interview, because this was the first one that actually had autism that get me interested in and to learn. So did a 30-minute interview with them, and there we kicked off, and then we rode the rides, I think 6 times that day. They were there for 2 weeks. Then he come back the next day. We rode it 8 times. And then he come back the next day, rode it 5 times. It's like, hey, caramba. But every time on the midway, he always found me every day. I don't know how this kid did it, but he did. And it was amazing. I mean, it was wonderful that I got to learn the behavior of it, how to understand it, how to work with it. I didn't do any changes or anything. I just sat there and learned from it first. And that next year, after we got closed, he turned around and asked me, "Will I be back next year?" in a soft voice. And that right there, it just grabbed my heart. And I turned around and let him down. I said, "I don't know if I can or not, but if I am, you will see me here." So I went back, and that following year, he come back, he got on that yo-yo, and he looked down, and there was a grin from ear to ear. He seen me. And he did not stutter. And his parents come back. And the only thing that I really found it was really interesting, every day we opened, they had him in a spot where they dropped him off and picked him up. They did not come in the fairground to hold his hand. They let him loose and run around himself. He knew how to money management. He knew how to do everything. And it was so wonderful. And he come up to me and he did not stutter. He had no fear. He rode every ride. He even rode a Himalaya. It went forwards and backwards. It's like I'm scratching my head. Can they actually be normal? And can they actually pull through to be normal?
Well, but I mean, the whole definition of normal is kind of in the eyes of beholder. I think it's dangerous if they dropped him off. I mean, whatever, anyone has going on.
But the thing of it is, he broke the fear within fear himself. And he started doing everything all by himself, which is wonderful. And that's what I was looking forward. Can they actually do it? And his parents came back and met me when we were getting ready to close. And they came up and tell me, thank you. And I asked him, I said, about his therapist, his speech therapist. They said, no, he does not have to go back to him. The other therapist, they turned around, was shocked. And no, they didn't have to come back that much. His teachers actually turned around and seen a big change in him. And they were blown away. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, they can actually do it if you can help them to see it. And I found out on another one from UK, he was only a 13-year-old. And he was high function. And the thing about him, I didn't have no videos to study him. I didn't have nothing to go by of how to help him. So I had to do this on blind. But I did get a picture of him. But the thing of it is, I had to try to study and try to help him. And being blind. So I did this for a lot of people say, do not put changes in them real fast. So what I did, I threw a change like an 8-ball and he fought me. So it's like, okay, so you don't do that. You don't change your everyday thing and screw them up. You don't do that. So what I did was, after a couple of days later, after he calmed down, he came back and asked for help in many different ways. I don't know how he did, but he did. I've seen it. So
that is a very, very sweet story, and I'm glad that you were there for him. My issue with Sebastian is I understand the time it took to find the diagnosis. I just think that he was so uncomfortable around Chris and didn't really have a safe place to be. Because let's face it, he didn't see his dad that often. His dad doesn't live there. It's almost like he was punished for being different than what Chris wanted.
Right. And that's the reason why I'm demonstrating that Chris wanted to force the changes and make him normal. And this is the reason why I'm demonstrating how Chris and Katie are presenting them, because they tried to force him to be normal. You can't do that. And every parent with autism people, that you got to know how to take a step back and how to work with them to help them see it. Let them make the changes if they feel comfortable or not. You can see it in their body. So you just don't force changes on them.
I just, what really irritates me is he loves animals so much, but he was punished with what he loves.
Yeah, because he was threatened because of Chris.
Mhm. I mean, like taking, Brownie the snake from him. I think that really bothered him. And that just kind of seemed to be the beginning of the end. Now, I'm not saying Sebastian is dead. I'm not saying that at all. He could pop up anytime. Like I said, there are many, we just saw a story earlier in the show. Kid left in California and nobody grabbed that story. Nobody
Right.
got in. Nobody was paying attention at all. He showed up in Utah.
Yeah, 3 years later.
Mhm. Well, I want to say thank you very much to our friend Truckin' for Autism. I didn't realize I kept you guys here for 2 hours. Let's have a huge round of applause for Truckin' with Autism. And you guys, thank you so much. Let's see, we have so many long-term members here. Look at this pink rose. You guys are gifted memberships. Thanks for all my $5 that making me holla. I mean, you guys are absolutely amazing. We're going strong. We may not do what other people do or what they want us to do, but by God, we're going to speak about the truth. Correct, Truckin' for Autism?
And stand only on the facts.
That's right. And the best mod squad anybody can ask for. You guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. Get a taco for me. It is Taco Tuesday. And if I miss you in Discord or one of the Facebook groups, you know where to find me. I will see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. Love you guys. We're out, trucking.
Yep.